Susan Banks keeps popping up on Days of Our Lives, which leaves some viewers slightly confused, wondering who this odd woman is and why she bears a striking resemblance to Kristen DiMera. Well, that's because both characters are played by the same actress, although this time it's Stacey Hayduk. Back in 1996, Eileen Davidson introduced Susan to viewers, along with some other characters. She also portrayed Susan's siblings, sister Mary Moira Banks, Thomas Banks, and Penelope Kent. But these days it's just Kristen and Susan who appear on Days. From left to right, Davidson played Susan, Mary Moira, Thomas, and Penelope. John Pascal / JBizStudios.com. Susan Banks first arrived in Salem in 1996 when Stefano DiMera brought the pregnant woman to town to impersonate Kristen, who had recently lost her baby. The plan was for Susan to give her baby to Kristen after it was born to be raised by her and John Black. Unfortunately, when John married Kristen in the hospital while in labor, he actually tied the knot with Susan. Although Susan handed over the infant, when she learned it had a heart defect, she wanted it back. Kristen argued that she and John could provide John Jr. with the medical care he needed, but Susan also still believed John was her husband. Stefano built a secret room in the mansion where they were going to keep Susan, but when Marlena Evans realized they'd stolen Susan's baby, she was locked up there herself. Wanting John for herself, a jealous Susan tricked Kristen and locked her up with Marlena so that she could impersonate her and take over her life. Susan planned an Elvis-themed wedding for her and John, but at the ceremony, her secret was exposed and Kristen and Marlena were rescued. Susan nearly got the wedding of her dreams. John Pascal / JBizStudios.com. After things calmed down, Susan moved into Marlena's penthouse with her son, who she had renamed Little Elvis. When her sister, Mary Moira, demanded to know who the father of the child was, Susan insisted it was Elvis. Unfortunately, she was later shocked to discover that it had really been Stefano in disguise. Kristen continued to try and get the baby back, but everyone else sided with Susan, including Stefano. John arranged for Susan and Little Elvis to move to England, where she met Edmund P. Crumb and fell madly in love. Unfortunately, Kristen would not be stopped, and lured Susan back to Salem where she drugged her and sold her into white slavery, taking over Susan's life to raise her son. Luckily, Susan managed to escape and exposed Kristen, reuniting her odd little family and tying the knot with Edmund. With Susan and Little Elvis in 1998. John Pascal / JBizStudios.com. In 2014, Susan returned to Salem to visit her now adult son, who was going by the name DiMera. She was worried because she didn't believe Sami Brady was the right woman for him, and she had also had a premonition that he was in terrible danger. She confessed that she'd allowed Stefano to raise it because she and Edmund couldn't give him the same life. Edge insisted that everything was fine, but he was shot to death shortly thereafter. Susan resurfaced in November of 2017 when Sami discovered that her son, Will Horton, was alive and living with Susan, believing he was her son, Edge. Will's loved ones were able to convince him of his true identity, though his memories remained MIA, and he returned to Salem, leaving Susan behind. Months later, she returned to Salem to make amends with Will and invited herself to John and Marlena's wedding, offering the couple a doll in the bride's likeness as a gift. She also confided to Marlena that she had been visited by Kristen, who was believed to be dead. Of course, she wasn't, and the villainess switched places with Susan to attend the wedding undetected. After being rescued, Susan was shocked to learn that Edge was still alive, and reluctantly agreed to let Sami take him to a burn clinic for treatment. Susan's psychic powers remained on point. XJ Johnson / JBizStudios.com. In July of 2019, Susan resurfaced when Kristen needed a disguise to stay hidden in Salem, but things got more complicated when the real Susan showed up in town. Kristen managed to cover by claiming to be Sister Mary Moira in disguise, and naturally, the naive Susan bought it. But at John and Marlena's engagement party, Kate Roberts attacked Susan, believing her to be Kristen in disguise, and everyone was stunned when John revealed that Kristen was actually masquerading as Nicole by ripping off her mask. Susan next returned to Salem in February 2021 when she warned Marlena she had a premonition that Brady Black would be shot. That had already happened, but she then used her powers to try and communicate with Ciara Brady on the other side for Ben Weston. But she quickly informed him that his wife was still alive. However, the next time Ben tried to get Susan's psychic help, it didn't work because Kristen had convinced Susan to take her place so she could keep an eye on Brady and Chloe. But eventually, Susan slipped up and Brady realized she wasn't Kristen and the switch was exposed. Then, in November 2021, Susan showed up at Ben and Ciara's because her visions were telling her their baby was in grave danger. Ciara was skeptical, but Ben reminded her how Susan helped him find her, so she went along with it, though she was shaken when Susan sensed great evil. Stay tuned to see how Susan's wild story continues. Adblock test, why?